Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm Chris Gore from Film Threat. We have a big show for you today. We're going to be talking about Don't Worry, Darling. Don't Worry, Darling is in theaters. It's going to be the biggest movie ever. It will be number one at the box office this weekend, but Alan Ing and I have seen the film, and we're going to tell you all about it. Also, what do we have on tap today? A lot. In addition to Don't Worry, Darling, we're going to be talking about Confess Fletch, which we interviewed the director, Greg Mottola, on Wednesday. Can't wait to talk to you more about that. Addition, House of the Dragon, Rings of Power, Andor, She-Hulk, all that stuff. We're going to get into it. In addition, special guest, 2 hours from now at 11 a.m. Pacific time, Section 8 director, Christian Sesma. Why is my voice cracking? I'm pre-coffee. I'm in a salty mood because I really wish some of these things we weren't talking about, but we're gonna get into it. Let's get started, folks. Let's get started. It's the Film Threat Livecast on a Friday. Time to start your weekend. Alan Ing is here, the editor-in-chief of Film Threat. Alan, how's it going?
This is a very sucky week in movie.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, no, I didn't see Don't Worry, Darling.
Wait, you didn't?
No.
That was your job last night.
No, I thought it was The Green Woman. But
what did you watch? You watched The Green Woman?
Yeah.
All right, well, we should talk about The Green Woman because I watched it as well. It's yeah. I think the timing of The Green Woman is a little suspicious. Let's be honest. And we have a Confess Fletch review up on right now.
I think there's good things to be said about Confess Fletch, House of the Dragon, and I think everything else is just
no. Confess Fletch is great.
It is.
We had people in the chat that actually, when we interviewed Greg, the director, the writer-director, they saw it and they loved it. There it is, right on our front page.
Yeah.
That's the one positive in the whole weekend. I'm sorry to say. Yeah. And I don't want to I don't want to show our hand too much, but boy, it's things are not looking good. Things are not looking good, but Confess Fletch is a bright spot. Let's go over to reviews here and see. I think The Green Woman is here somewhere, right?
Yeah, Green Woman didn't do so well. There are two good indie films that we've reviewed recently. And they're very low budget indie, but a definite shining point for the weekend.
But that's our bread and butter. I'm just going through. Okay, here's The Green Woman. Yeah, I watched it as well. We'll talk about The Green Woman. We'll talk about The Green Woman later. First, we have to say, I am pre-coffee. We have no producer today, so we're flying blind. So, but we appreciate that we've got over within minutes, we have 100 people watching, and hopefully more people will join us.
I will say the chat was pretty interesting before we started. A lot of people were talking about just this idea of hate watching, and whether hate watching is beneficial or maybe we're shooting ourselves in the foot by getting giving these streamers and this garbage credit for watching it because we just have to hate it.
Well, it's okay. So I went to the movies last night. I saw Moon Age Daydream again, the David Bowie documentary, and I saw it with some people who had not seen it.
Did you see it in IMAX?
I did not see it in IMAX, unfortunately. But look, it's still flawed. It's still a very flawed movie, and it's too long. But I love the music. I love David Bowie's music. You just can't go wrong with this. It just makes me want to just going to find a list of Bowie's best on Spotify and listen to that this weekend. But yeah, Don't Worry, Darling has come to theaters. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it momentarily, but I want to see who is in the chat. Let's go to your comments here before we begin our reviews for the show today. But you know what we're talking about. Kenny Kanthek says happy Friday. Well, happy Friday to you. Want biscuits. Chris plus salty mood equals pure gold. I don't know. Your mileage may vary. When I get salty, I'm yeah, what can I say? Fletcher Williams says, hail chat and Chris. He goes on to say, hashtag salty Chris. Scott Slaughterbeck says, cool. Good morning, Chris and Alan, says Kev Burke 1. And there you go. Ferd to the future, because you were on streams all day yesterday. Yeah, I was, actually. I started at like the Nerdrotic Nooner, which of course went right up until our show. I was literally in my kitchen making a cheeseburger so I could eat before rushing onto our stream, which also went long. But Greg Matola was great on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So there you go. VDR, my wife and I have fallen into the habit of watching She-Hulk every Thursday. I can't complain. Fallen into a habit. Is that a good habit? I think Alan and I have some new thoughts on She-Hulk. We'll get to that after we talk about Don't Worry, Darling.
Yeah, you're not.
It must be said. It must be said. Here we go. Want biscuits. I still stand by my claim that the hottest green woman ever was Susan Oliver's Vina from Star Trek: The Original Series. Yes. There's a whole documentary about her and her playing the green woman and green women in the history of movies and TV, which is odd. Gabe Oi Toucher. Hey Chris, have you ever read Wait. Why are you laughing?
No, read the name again.
Gabe Oi Toucher. Oh my god. I'm really I'm trying to be so.
You haven't watched Howard Stern in a very long time.
I haven't watched. Yes, I fell off Stern. Like once I haven't listened to Stern since the before times. He'll pop up in YouTube for me. But yeah, I feel so obligated to I can't mispronounce people's names. I want to be very respectful. And which there you go. You got me. Gay Boy Toucher says, hey, Chris, have you ever read Punching Babies or Stomping Kittens by Adrian Smitley? Both amazing books on how to plot. The MCU writers seriously need to read them. It's funny when you see I'm of the opinion, we'll get more into it. There hasn't been a good Disney Plus Marvel series. There hasn't been one good one. And generally the pathway is they start out decent, put their best foot forward, bungle it, and every single one has ended poorly. And I think it was Gary Beekler on Nerdrotic that just said, he says that he doesn't think Disney Plus knows how to do TV shows. I think he's absolutely right.
See, I wouldn't limit it to Disney Plus. I think across the board. I think generally television, I think, I don't know what we're teaching new writers, but they're not being taught how to tell good stories. They're not being taught how to structure stories, structure films, structure TV series. And, it's rare. Star Trek, I think, is falling into it. Certainly, Rings of Power is right up there as not knowing how to write.
Yeah. The Sound of One Man Laughing. I like John Hamm very, very much. And I didn't see the original Fletch movie, so I hope this will be enjoyable. It absolutely is. Goober, the struggle is real. Leroy Russell. Can Hollywood get back to making things we want? Stop with the woke agenda. We won't watch that crap. Oh, well, you are in for a treat today. You're in for a treat today, Leroy. Goober is back. Says it would help if people stopped hate watching, then the ratings would actually make a statement. Bingo. Yeah, at a certain point, you just you're not watching these shows because you enjoy them. You're watching these shows to roast them and then to talk about it with other people about how bad they are. Is that where we are now, that we're so creatively bankrupt that this is what we're doing? Did you see Alan, could you look it up and throw it up on screen? They're making a new Wizard of Oz.
Oh.
They're making a new Wizard of Oz. I believe it's at Warner Brothers, and it will be specifically a modern interpretation, modern characters, LGBT representation. Oh, look it up. That's the pinnacle to me. we're remaking what is a perfect film. The Wizard of Oz is a perfect film. It's on a short list of what I would consider perfect movies. There might be like 10, maybe 15. I mean, getting generous, they're not perfect, but it's a 9.9, right? All right. But The Wizard of Oz, the fact that they're remaking this now is kind of crazy.
Yeah. So Blackish creator Kenya Barris to direct and write Warner Brothers remake of Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. It's going to have all the things that people like in movies: representation, diversity, agenda, messaging.
Yeah, but didn't we already get diversity with The Wiz?
Yes, I saw The Wiz at movie theaters when I was a kid. I saw it because Michael Jackson was in it, and I liked Michael Jackson.
Diana Ross and
yeah,
Nipsey Russell.
Nipsey Russell. They did a movie called The Wiz, which I believe was based on a stage play, which was a Black Wizard of Oz, and that was in the 1970s. Okay, this stuff isn't new, but nobody talks about The Wiz, and everybody still talks about The Wizard of Oz.
People talk about The Wiz. I mean, you had a great cast, you had good music. I mean, it was done basically because of that. They wanted to do a much more lively, urban version of The Wizard of Oz, and I think they pulled it off for the most part.
Alan, I'm sorry to tell you, nobody talks about The Wiz unless they're taking a whiz. I'm just telling you right off the bat.
But I think, but wokeness was definitely not a motivation at that time. It was money when you had Michael Jackson and
right. I mean, it was like
big stars in this thing.
Yeah, big stars, talented musicians. I don't think this movie holds up. The original Wizard of Oz does hold up. The Wiz does not hold up. It feels very dated. It feels dated. It's way too long. Like their parts are just boring, and not all the songs hit. I'm just telling you. Leroy Russell, Oz, Scarecrow. Would you like a brain? Alan Horkin, remember The Wiz? Don't remember it. Fletcher Williams, The Wiz was awesome. Watch it again.
I told you, people like The Wiz.
All right, fine. I will concede that there are humans who like The Wiz.
Yeah, retro nerd girl. I mean, she liked The Wiz.
All right, I love The Wiz. All right, I stand corrected. Now that I actually like because of the talent involved, the musicians, and Michael Jackson might be one of the best things he's done on film.
Well, I mean, there's nothing that says you can't have a different take on a classic, but when you do it, I mean, the way the world is going now with wokeness, it just feels like there's this need to correct the past, to say, to have to redo the past. I think Bill Maher talked about, applying the sins of the past to the present.
It's called presentism.
Yeah.
Presentism, where you basically are judging the past by how we think in the present when people just thought differently, right? Amanda Nowicki, Tin Man was a good sci-fi original. Cardinal Sin is here. Hail Film Threat and Film Threat, Chris and Alan. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Cardinal Sin. Subscribe to his channel. He does really, really in-depth live streams about nerdy stuff that I like. Let's see. Sorry, I got Ing Hok Hai. Greetings from Singapore. First time watching live.
Hey,
well, hello, Singapore. Beautiful place. So I'm told. Absolutely beautiful place. John Manilang. Fat Elvis.
Oh, this was from your pronunciation.
My pronunciation? Oh yeah. Fur to the future. Well, that's great. Yeah, I don't know the context. We don't have actually a producer helping us today, so we're shorthanded. It's just Alan and I, and we're gonna do our best. Alan Horkin to chat. I deliberately didn't watch or hate watch Rings of Power after being burned by Wheel of Time. Alan Horkin, I look. I feel for you. After seeing Moon Age Daydream last night, really enjoying the Bowie music in it. I came home and I started watching Well, actually, the live stream that Nerdrotic was doing, talking about the Rings of Power episode 5. Then I started watching it, and then I did this. This happens every single time I try to watch the Rings of Power. I fell asleep. So that's what happened. And the only thing that stood out to me was Galadriel doing a she was sort of training these soldiers in training.
Oh,
and it was just like this sort of delightful, fanciful music while she was schooling them. And then it ends with good job, Lieutenant, because she had gotten like grazed on her shoulder.
Oh my god.
Whatever. We'll talk about
the worst thing about Rings of Power was going to my Prime Video account and seeing that it was 76 minutes long.
Yeah, 76 minutes. So more than an hour. They couldn't find things to cut.
I found things to cut.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we've gotten through the comments here. The Wiz, awesome lineup, mediocre movie, says Sparkly Pegs. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought the music was great. I think the movie just doesn't. Go back and try to watch it now. It doesn't really hold up. I mean, it is really great to see Diana Ross and Michael Jackson kind of in their prime, right?
Yeah.
So
and then like we don't talk about Nipsey Russell a lot, but to kind of see him in the last few roles of his life.
Adam Nowakowski. I've just watched S12 episode 1 of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and they reference the Wiz all the time. All right, I love It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's something that has avoided going woke. That and South Park. I mean, there's some things, but yeah. CD Stein 69 says would agree. Truly thinks it starts in college writing courses. Yeah. I just think that writing is not, and also even reading. I don't know. Are kids reading classics or at least a diverse range of books?
Yeah. Well, thankfully, we just had back to school night, and my daughter's language arts teacher is forcing the classics upon her students.
Good.
So she's going to do To Kill a Mockingbird next week, and then that will transition into Romeo and Juliet.
There you go. They can hate them just like I did. All it did is encourage me to read other things that I liked, which was like comic books and sci-fi novels and whatnot. CD Stein 69 would agree. Truly thinks it starts in college writing courses. My son had to take an intro course in college, and the first statements from the professor was all of the best writers insert agenda. So
no, they didn't.
Yeah. Sound of One Man laughing. A remake will not erase The Wizard of Oz, and if you can't LGBTQ up The Wizard of Oz, what can you? I mean, there are people that even say like The Wizard of Oz is already pretty gay. I mean, it stars Judy Garland. Judy Garland is the patron saint of gay men. Correct me if I'm wrong, but she is. So, I mean, gay men worshipped her, and so she's in Wizard of Oz. So, some might argue that we already have a gay Wizard of Oz. It's called the Wizard of Oz. Galadriel was being Mulan, lol, teaching the Numenorians to be a man, says Brock Samsonite. Yeah.
That's true.
Cue Benny Hill theme, says Fat Elvis. Yeah, that would have been funny. Leroy Russell, keep hate watching and they will keep making things for you to hate watch. It's that simple. Stop watching. Tell your friends to stop watching. I mean, yeah, I agree with that. Have to be careful with presentism and not use it as a backdoor pretext to excuse the evils of the past. Evil did exist back then, says Womp Biscuits. 100%. Yes, 100%. Agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that I've learned about storytelling is it's all about connecting with an audience, to say that, your story, I'm going to tell a story that you can relate to, that you can put your shoes in. But now it feels like with injecting an agenda, it's about preaching to the audience.
Wait, did I get that super chat from, I missed it. I think I unstarred it. Can you help me?
I only saw one. That was Cardinal Sins.
Oh, okay, good. We got it then. We're good. Okay, cool. All right, let's get into it. I know why you're here. You want to hear about Don't Worry, Darling. So let's talk about Don't Worry, Darling. Don't Worry, Darling. You probably know more about the gossip surrounding this movie than you know about the movie, because the trailer for the movie doesn't reveal very much. This movie is directed by Olivia Wilde, who also worked on the script with a co-screenwriter. It stars Harry Styles and Florence Pugh as a husband and wife that live in a perfect, idyllic, sort of late 50s, early 60s town. It's actually shot in Palm Springs. It's idyllic, it's beautiful. They live in this courtyard. All the women wear like flourishing dresses or sort of sexy, just got out of bed wear as they kiss their husbands and send them off to work, each with a briefcase in hand, each jumping into a 50s or 60s vehicle in perfect condition that they then drive to who knows where, a bunker in the middle of the desert where on occasion there are weird explosions that shake the house. Who knows what project they're working on? And they're all led by this enigmatic figure played by Chris Pine. They have dinner parties, they drink and hang out, they play games, the women go shopping, they do a lot of shopping, and there's a lot of drinking alcohol, whatnot. Florence Pugh's character and Harry Styles are in love. I mean, they're madly in love, married couple. They're very frisky in the bedroom, so there are many sex scenes. So make of that what you will. A lot of sex scenes, them just like they're so attracted to each other, they're so in love, but all is not right in this perfect idyllic place. As Florence Pugh begins to have visions, every time she looks in a mirror, there's something strange going on. She has one neighbor, a married couple, where the woman tries to take her own life. She's having problems in the marriage, so everybody says. And there are these strange men in red sort of coveralls that every time something crazy happens, these men in red coveralls kind of just fix it. They come out and they solve a problem. There's a tram that takes, all the housewives when they just sort of spend their day like, what are we doing? Spending our days cleaning, shopping, making breakfast, making meals, everything's like this perfect. It's the perfect version of patriarchy from the 50s, that sort of idyllic stay-at-home housewife, man goes to work, the main breadwinner. She doesn't even know what he does at work, and he's very mysterious about it. But again, Florence Pugh's character, I believe her name is Alice, starts to have all these visions of something else is going on. And I will say this, I was in hook, line, and sinker. I like this kind of film. You feel like, what is this? Is this Stepford Wives? Like there's a big mystery afoot. And the first 2/3 of the film is this little glimpses of all is not right. Some people are acting very strange. She takes, she's on a trolley and sees a plane crash and goes to try to find out what happens at the plane crash. And then, goes to the place she's not supposed to go. You're not supposed to go past this certain barrier. Well, she goes past the barrier and then ends up unconscious and wakes up in her bedroom like nothing happened. All is not right. Now, before I get into it, I want to warn people. There is a major twist in the third act of this film. So for the first, 2/3, 3/4 of the movie, I'm sold. What is going on? This is bizarre. This also, why can't we get back to this? A simpler life, right? Instead of, you can't even survive without two people in a household working and or even each of those people having a side gig, right? This is where we are now, so it's and of course it's like this perfectly painted picture of an idyllic time that we all know was not perfect or idyllic, right? But it's a vision of that. And there is something that happens in the third act that as soon as I saw it, all the goodwill and everything that I loved about the first 3/4 of the movie went out the window. It is one of the dumbest twists I've seen in a movie that kept itself mysterious up until that point. I can't even remember the last time I saw something like this. And what it reveals itself to be is a very anti-male, very against the patriarchy, and also probably what it tells me is Olivia Wilde was going through something during the making of this movie. She was going through something. And my guess is that something is a divorce and an affair with Harry Styles, which my understanding, and I'm not a gossip person. I don't care about gossip. Unless it somehow relates to the movie, like the story of the movie. I mean, I will say this. I don't care that Olivia Wilde had an affair with Harry Styles on the set of this film. And they're no longer together, by the way, which is fueled the drama. I have a piece of video that I'll play for you from the IMAX live experience where I saw Don't Worry Darling on Monday. And I shot some video because I was so annoyed with what was going on. I had to show it to you. So I'm going to show you this 30-second video in a moment here. But she's perfectly fine to have, a director having an affair with an actor on a film set. When has that ever happened? As far as I'm concerned, the playing field is level. She should be able to do that. They're both adults. Fine. Men should be able to do that too. Male directors, fine. Female directors, fine. These things happen. There's actually a name for it. And I learned this when I produced my first feature film in 2005. It's called It's Not Love, It's Location. And what happens is when you're making a movie, everything is really intense. Emotions are really intense. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you're having intimate scenes with people. You're barely sleeping, right? You're getting maybe 4-6 hours of sleep a night at best. It's intense. And that intensity, that work environment, whatever, leads to a lot of on-set affairs. Remember the phrase, it's not love, it's location. We might do a t-shirt. But I need to know if you would like me to spoil the movie. So people in the chat, I did spoil it on another live cast, so maybe it's out there. But I want to know before I go any further. I'm going to show you this video in just a sec too. So what is the chat saying?
Yeah, no one's there was, from what I saw, there was one yes and then one no.
All right, we're wide.
Yeah, you just said it, so people are now okay. Here we go. Let's see, 100%. Leo Burnett, spoil it now. Spoil it.
Okay, before I spoil the twist, someone in the chat, please spoil it, darling. Someone in the chat is a member. Thank you for that. Before I spoil it, I want to show you this video. So when I went to they called it the IMAX Live Don't Worry Darling experience. Basically what that meant was they were doing a live cast from New York. I saw the movie at like 4:30 p.m., which is kind of early, but they did a live like kind of Q&A at the beginning. So it was like 20 minutes and it was Olivia Wilde and the entire cast, and they introduced the cast. And so this is a video from that. You could probably even find it somewhere online, the whole thing, but this is a view from inside the theater when they're introducing the cast. And I found it very odd that, of course, Olivia Wilde is the first person. She's seated number one. And at the very, very far end, the last person they introduce is Harry Styles on the complete opposite side. So here's that moment from inside the theater.
Asif Ali. Yeah. Yes. And Harry Styles.